am I spending enough time towards making progress towards my goal? Because I know a lot of times I'm not. There's, the work, the daily work, there's the distractions, there's life. These are all the things that will kind of pull you away from your goal.
Right.
But being able to continue to make work towards that and make progress towards that bigger vision, that to me is success.
Welcome back, everybody. Rich Baker.
Brian Tam, what up?
Behind the grind. We have what I believe will be another interesting topic on the deck here. Success, as I look at it on the board. Something that, Jesus, you just go to YouTube, type in entrepreneurship success, and there's probably got to be 400 million videos on this. Like, how do you define it? What does it mean? And
Here's our take.
We're probably not going to have as many views as a Gary Vee, but we'll have more content. That's all that matters.
Speaking of Gary Vee, is that your benchmark?
Is that
success?
my benchmark? Actually, so I will say that I wanted to be kind of the Gary Vee of sustainability, where I don't aspire to be him as an individual, but I definitely wanted to create content and engagement in a way that he was able to.
Yeah.
And actually, I had a moment maybe 6-7 years ago inside of a training room where it was just awful, and I realized I need to radically change the way I presented and keynoted.
Okay.
And he was one of the first people I found.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is before he had any of his. It was just his New York keynote, and I was like,
that was the big one. Yeah.
Wow, that guy's got it, right?
Yeah.
So I just tried to figure out how I could learn from him to just do me a little bit better.
Right.
So
exactly.
That was
And
it.
Every time I'm watching you present now, I'm like, oh shit, that's really clear. Really, like the way you talk is just so grounded and direct and clear that people go like, oh shit, he's real. He knows his stuff.
Since we're talking about success, I will take this as a measure of success, and the fact that I really recognized I had a problem, and I decided to change the process up of how I present. Like, my old PPTs were totally different. They were very academic, very data heavy, a lot of bullet points, things I had to look back to. I wasn't very, but then I realized how do you engage people? I watched, there's 3 or 4 people, and Gary Vee was one of them. And I just felt the way that he spoke, actually, it was totally, he came from a place where he knew what he wanted to talk about, and he just put that out. And so I've really just tried to take in and I constantly try and bring in this information in a way that I understand, the way that I've learned it, the way that I can teach others without the thing behind me. And so I find that now my ratio has gone down, my factor has gone down, and I can nail time really well now. And that helps, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
Measure of success in that space, learning, we were just talking about learning as well, and one of the previous ones where I learned from that experience. I found a resource, I made improvement, and I'm not gonna say it's taken me very far, but it's definitely taken me farther than I would have gone with the old broken process, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So success, how do we define it? I think let's just start off there, because success is one of these wishy-washy things, of course,
Super wishy-washy.
and you can define it in however you want to. I think we're going to put our lens on how we've looked at ourselves, looked at our business, and maybe defined, redefined, iterated on our success. So I'm going to kick that one to Brian straight off and be how do you define success?
First of all, I have my goals and I have my vision. I think that's a big piece of it, is how much closer am I getting towards that vision that I set out for myself, right? And so that's my definition of success, is just, am I making progress towards that? I don't think I'm ever going to reach it, because you do want to set something that's further away, and that's it. It's, am I spending enough time towards making progress towards my goal? Because I know a lot of times I'm not. There's the work, the daily work. There's the distractions. There's life. These are all the things that will kind of pull you away from your goal.
Right.
But being able to continue to make work towards that and make progress towards that bigger vision, that to me is success. It's not that, but it's getting on the road and staying on the road towards it.
Right. Okay. So success for you, that's a end point that is off in the distance, or is that something that's
so
right in front of you?
a couple weeks ago, I biked 50 miles over to Suzhou. it's a nearby neighboring town, but 50 miles away. And it took about 6 hours to get there, and I haven't done it in 3 years, and so it took some. It was almost like a new experience for me. And as I was going on the road, the first hour, you're still in the city of Shanghai, which is huge.
Right.
Second hour, you're still just on the outskirts of, I bike slowly, okay? You're on the outskirts of the city. And then third hour, you're in the middle of nowhere, kind of in between these like border towns, and it's really quiet.
Right.
And every hour, each time, I had to remind myself, like, I was trying to rush. I was trying like, why am I still not there? Why am I still not there? But then by the fourth hour, exhausted, I just was like telling myself, enjoy this. This is why you're doing it. It's not to get the Suzhou, because there wasn't anything in Suzhou. I didn't have a meeting. I didn't have anything. I was like getting, I didn't even have a hotel booked for the trip, right? Just get on there, get on the bike and go. And then by the fourth hour, I was like, no, take a step back. Just enjoy this process. The hills, the mountains, the trucks, the highways, and all that stuff, right? And actually enjoy the scenery, because holy shit, this is the reason I'm going, right?
Right.
And I think that's as I was biking, I was like, that's a really good metaphor for
entrepreneurship.
This process, right? Like, I don't. There's nothing over there.
Right.
There's nothing in Suzhou that I need. It is just this process that I need to enjoy.
Okay, but let's continue with this metaphor. You can't see Suzhou.
Yeah.
But a lot of things that we put out there as our goalpost is things that we can actually see.
Sure.
So would it have been better if you'd set something like, I can see that building, get there. I can see that building, get there, and just see how far you can go.
Yeah.
Or do you like moonshot to Suzhou and be like, I think I can. Like,
I mean, everybody's different, right? I moonshot and I think I can, right? And just like as I'm like, I can't, and just like looking around, like, oh, actually that building is nice, and like, oh, there's a little river here, and like there's some fields here now all of a sudden, and then also adding on to this metaphor, getting lost. Right. Like not going on the path that you thought you were gonna go on. Right. That is so true. Like, cause I'm checking the maps, and maps is like not there, there's all of a sudden there's a new obstacle. Like there's construction. Yeah. I'm not gonna go on this road anymore. How am I gonna go on another road? And now you're completely off the trail. Like what happens now? Can you still enjoy it? Are you freaking out? This is the best.
Okay, wait a second. This metaphor is now turned into, how do you view social media as a metric for success?
And then there's the guys passing me, like the professional bikers, like zoom, they're all decked out and they're like awesome helmet and bikes. I'm just super jealous. Right?
Yeah, you're in your like semi-fixie.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk. Okay, so let's talk about the obstacles. Let's talk about the distractions. I want to start off with social media, because social media, I think, drives a lot of how we view success now. Totally. Different than before. Like before, it was a little bit more, did the Lions Club give you something? Did you IPO? Are you but now it's like, how many likes did your event get? How many views are you getting on your channel? Like, how do those things fit into your idea of that path? Like, is that a total diversion and obstacle? Is that something that's useful to provide fuel for that moonshot? Like, how does social media come in for you?
I don't look at it. I don't look at those metrics anymore. Right. I did once upon a time, and it was fine, but it didn't help to look at it. And especially with the way that social media as a whole is changing, the metrics don't matter or get inflated so quickly that it's a distraction. Okay. So I think it's a dangerous metric that I used to look at because I didn't know any better. I'd be like, okay, but just see it. There's no real progress, and even if I was making progress with my likes, nothing else happened with my business. Okay. Right. And that's the question. How about you? How do you look at this social media dynamic?
Yes, I would say actually it's very like likes is likes. But likes is not proposals. Likes is not money. Likes is not new work. Staff. Likes is not actual, like on the short order. But also, I will say that I had a couple of clients come to me through social media where they had been liking, commenting for some time. So it wasn't the like per se, although it gives you some idea of, are you in the right ballpark? I think it's a nice testing area. So if I put something up on LinkedIn or I put something on Facebook, and I get certain people to engage, we call it engagement. That could be a like, comment, whatever. If I hear that back, I'm not looking for it, but if I hear it back, I'm like, oh, I'm in the right space.
Right. I mean,
Right.
definitely, if you're putting stuff out there and you're getting somebody to respond to you,
Yeah.
you touch on a sore spot, or you
Yeah.
brought up a topic that was actually near and dear to their heart, or something that they were really thinking about, right? So
Yeah.
that's absolutely right.
So it helps you know
Pay
that
attention to
it helps you know that you're on the right highway,
Right.
right? But it it's definitely not like the homecoming parade that you think, 1,000 likes is like everyone's like, yay! But the reality is like that's not it.
Yeah.
So I guess, and then that leads back to like at the end of the day, I'd say that like if I look at my nonprofit, I'm very clear about how I measure success or how I define it.
Yeah.
How I define it, it's all about the impact of the organization, right?
That's cool. Yeah.
And for Collective, it's very similar. It's like turning, businesses into sustainable organizations. So
how do you know what that is?
well, I would say that also gets back down to each individual client and so from Collective, we're an agency, so we're helping others.
Right.
For the nonprofit, we're actually part of the process.
Right.
So for the nonprofit, it's very easy. It's how we define it is like, how do we get people engaged?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing? Is it showing impact? And that gets into our metrics, which that follows the definitions.
Right.
So we're gonna engage people to volunteer. Okay, so how many volunteers do we have? That's a metric.
Mm-hmm.
How often they come back? How many hours they do? Do they come back? Will they be a team leader? Like all these things, right?
And so how did you figure out what were like the definitions? Was that your own personal reflection? Did you talk to the team? Did you get that from global or whatever?
So as an entrepreneur, I think as the founder, as an entrepreneur, I think it's important that you define success for yourself, right, and for the organization. Now, there's overlap, and they could be the exact same.
Yeah.
For myself, they're definitely not. Like each organization, each project that I'm working on, I'd say each one has its own mission definition
of that.
Yeah. So hands-on, collective, this video series, like there's definitions that come into success for all of them. Like we want to engage more people through this, right?
Yeah.
But then how that maps back to me and my own version of success, that's like just the most impact I can have, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just different chess pieces. And then I measure each one differently.
Cool.
Now the interesting thing is I'm thinking about the project that I was mentioning, the app from before. Like we have a pretty clear definition of success. It's connecting families, but our metrics keep changing because we're gaining clarity about
what really
the process and what really matters as part of that program.
Right.
And then that allows us to do kind of like the see, hear, feel exercise.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So that when the action follows, you can kind of like, we did this. Did we see, hear, or feel this response? And then that can go back to.
So, I mean, for those who don't know, what do you mean by the see, feel, hear?
So it's like, if I'm going to volunteer my time, right? And you're a kid and I'm going to be your mentor. I'm going to be big brother, big sister. After 6 weeks, I should be able to see something from that action, from the volunteer's interaction with the student. I should also maybe hear something. Right. But within that, you should also feel something. And through those things, you can basically create metrics for each one. Now, sometimes it's more visible, and I always said, like, when we're trying to measure the work, I kind of feel like we're always like, it's like we're coming out of a movie theater and our eyes are adjusting. Right. There's like that focal point right away. They're like, yes, okay, that one's super bright. I know exactly how to measure that one. Cool. But then over time, as you get clarity around that, your iris or whatever starts to open up, and you're like, I can see everything now. And so, again, you just have to readjust and readjust and readjust. Right? Yeah.
So definitely. I mean, that's why some people might hear like, oh, the metrics change over time. That sounds like a dangerous thing. But actually, it's a very good thing.
It's a good thing.
You need to calibrate to the reality, and you're changing what you're learning, right?
Yeah, and if we go back to like social media, I think we all maybe start off with like likes is the measure, and then we realize like no, likes isn't. It's engagement. Well, what does engagement mean? Engagement means it's not comments and shares. It's actually like back-end emails with questions, and like, you refine over time. Like, what does the success of that specific action mean?
That's awesome.
But as an entrepreneur, I still come back down to like, how do we measure success? Like, what's the most effective way? What do we need to do as individuals?
Yeah. Right. For me, it's doing what I love, and that was a whole big process in itself. Figuring out what is it that I love to do is understanding, creating, communicating. These are the things that I enjoy the most. And so, how much time am I spending towards that, and how much time, and then when do I need to do which? That is the framework for me, and I need to figure out. Basically, it's just time, and then a financial reward or a financial. It's not reward. Actually, let me correct myself. It's a financial recognition of the time that I put in towards that. Because I am delivering quality. So where's the recognition of that? So those are the kind of metrics that I have. My time, and then financial reward. But even so,
Yeah.
the success that we're talking about, I'm not breaking it down into hardcore metrics every week or month or anything like that.
Mhm.
It is still just an annual thing that I'm checking in on,
Right.
and then a feeling thing. Yeah.
How's it important for you to have your own definition of success that's separate from anything external?
Ooh, it's absolutely important. I think it is so easy to get distracted by all the flashy things that are happening. Because social media can be dangerous when you see other people getting on the award stage.
Yeah.
They're all tuxedoed out, right? And they're holding on that plaque or whatever it is, and you're like, oh shit, they've done something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure that's success, right? But I know for sure I get jealous. For sure,
Yeah.
I will tell you the truth, right? That is a distraction.
Okay.
And that's the danger. But I'm paying attention to it, and so.
Isn't that why jealousy is one of the 7 deadly sins?
It is.
Right?
It is.
And I would say the same thing. Like the last few weeks, there's been a lot of like UN conferences. I have a lot of friends who are on the conference circuit.
Sure,
Man, they're doing really well. And
it looks like it. Right?
when I was younger, I will say I was like, why am I not there? Like, and it would alter the way because I was too external. I was too open for external input on what success was for me. But now it's like, I think also you just like, yeah, okay, they got up there.
Right.
And if I can do a few things, maybe I focus more on my own work. Right?
Yeah, totally. Now I've had to tell myself like forcefully, like it's not jealousy, it's admiration. And it's not only admiration, but it's also a reflection of what I want. The jealousy is this kind of like inadequacy thing. All right, let's remove that and let's see what is it really. There's this desire for something that I don't have yet. So that's admiration, or that's something I appreciate that I don't have enough of. And so this is where I need to focus and doing the work then.
It's interesting you say it's something you want, but
Perhaps,
it's something you
right?
perhaps. But see, this it's important to have a clear definition of what success is because I think we want stuff that shines in front of us, but if we're not willing to map that back to our actions, then that want becomes that little windy road on the side. It's like, ooh, that looks really interesting, and you lose 4 hours.
Part of the process I go through when I'm coaching new entrepreneurs or emerging entrepreneurs is, all right, what is it that you want? What's your vision? And then really quickly after that, why? Like a shit ton of whys, the 5 whys, and really quickly, the ones who are intelligent or aware, I should say, they will be able to explain what is it and why is it that they want and how important is it to them, and it becomes really grounded. But those who can't answer after the second why or even the first why, they flounder, and then you realize that's not it. I mean, even as they're starting to tell me, yeah, I want this, because they can't even get to it because I want this, and I poke a little bit, that will fall really quickly unless you get grounded, right? So it's an important process.
How much easier is that process after you've experienced a bit of success? And I asked this because we talked about this one time where, developing proposals. Right. Back in the day, we would do anything for money. Yeah. Right? Like literally, like I gotta pay a bill. Right? Almost like I'm not in this space, but yeah, I can be in that space if you need me to, right? Like, what's the fee? Okay, I need guilty. You gotta pay the money, right? You gotta pay the bills. But over time, as you built a portfolio, you built a brand, you built a product. Does that success of building a brand, product, whatever, does that allow you to be much clearer on your wants and then map them back to your success? Or are you still just as susceptible to do anything for money?
No, definitely. I mean, once you figure out in your, like, as you were talking about, it's like, all right, what is it then in your life that you want? Yeah. Right. And what is it in society that you want? And then your business and your organization and team should be a reflection of those two things. Right. And that's how I'm working through it. Where I think a lot of times if you're not an entrepreneur and you're working inside an organization, your metrics are not your metrics. They're not your metrics, right? Yeah. They are the metrics that are given to you. Here are your metrics. Here what Okay. And that's a complete shift in mindset that's that you need to go through as an entrepreneur. Like, oh shit, what is it that I want in my life?
What's my KPI?
In society, right? Yep. And then work towards the KPI in that way rather than be given it.
I had a great conversation this week with a CEO who just retired and she's leaving China. And this is like, I mean, she was running one of the top 50 companies in the world, like just really like very successful person. But she was like, I'm not sure what I succeed at, because actually being given, and actually I've seen this in a lot of other executives I work with, being given all the KPIs, like you can see every rung on the ladder. And yes, you reached up there. I call it the Kevin Spacey moment,
Uh-huh.
because it's like you're in like your garage. You're like, I don't know what I've actually done. So I'm gonna like you're gonna do something totally different.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you haven't done anything on your own.
Right,
Like
right,
you helped someone else succeed, but does that make you successful? Even though people are like, but no, you're the CEO of, you know, like that company, and you know, it may not be successful.
Like in your core, right? And that's the hard part, is going through that reflection process and trying to figure what that is for you individually. I think that's what we're starting. That's why we're going back to that question again and again and again. What is it that you want, like personally?
So then how often do you come back to this definition, and then how often do you then like try and like, oh look, I've got all this stuff going on, and this 20% doesn't, like, it's not getting me anywhere. Do you make those cuts now, or are you still struggling to find that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to make some cuts. I've been thinking and debating about that recently. So what I started with was like, when I started the company, even before I started the company, I made a document that wrote out next 5 to 10 years of what I wanted. And now it's already 6 or 7 years in. I just looked at that document again because I was showing it to one of my teammates. I was like, this is what I wanted 7 years ago. Right. And almost everything was done. I've done everything I wanted on that list, right? Except cheers, bro. But it wasn't a cheers. But it wasn't still the. Now, you know, I've changed. Yeah. And now I need to set new goals, and now I need to shift and offload some of the things that I'm doing that was for the previous goals, or previous metrics. So this is something I'm working through. I need to go back and read. What
were some things that you had not accomplished, and how are you going to then adjust?
Things that I haven't accomplished yet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still not a millionaire, right? That was one thing that, you know, I think that's another thing as you're going through this process.
Was that important to you?
Is calibrating. It wasn't. I think that's why it didn't work out.
Okay.
Right? It wasn't actually important to me. I didn't really, I don't care about that kind of money. I care about money. I care about surviving. I care about, you know, getting recognition for my work. That is absolutely important. Right. But the millions that's not it. Yeah. Right? I don't need that. I barely can say I would like that. Yeah. Right. And it sucks because I know that also affects my earnings, right? So I'm going through that process of like shifting. I'm like, actually, I do want that million, right? You know, that's what the next 5 to 10 years will be about. To rework that. But definitely, the things that you actually care about. I did write that as one of my goals, but I didn't actually care about it, and that's why it didn't happen. Everything else it was done. Now, like this year. Because
you know, like a lot of people say, well, did you make money or not? Like that's
what they ask.
That's the external. That's the first thing. Are you profitable? Are you this? Like, well, actually, you know, we've grown. We've done that, but have you made money? Right. And
even the people that we admire and listen to, like, well, we only truly would pay attention to them if they made money. Yeah. Right. And that's a sad fact of,
if they
of
hadn't,
human nature. You know. Like, why would you listen to the homeless guy? It doesn't matter how intelligent they might be.
Yeah. As founders. It definitely tweaks you a little bit, and to say like, oh, actually, you know, learning through the process, like building a brand, building product, building team, like all these things, like those are the little micro successes along the path of I want to be here, but a lot of people don't have that. Yeah, they just have, you know, that stuff. So
they really interesting. All these metrics don't map to their personal desire. What are they really after? Right. And then on top of it, for entrepreneurs, when you're going through the grind, that person, if you do have that mapped out, because we're talking to entrepreneurs, right? If you do have that mapped out in 10, 20 years, or 5 years, let's just say, it's actually very difficult to get there. Right? Like, you know, just going along the way. And so what are the micro wins? And are you paying enough attention to the micro wins so that you have enough fuel to continue to go through? Right. Because that big macro one, I'm not so sure I'm ever going to get there.
So let's bring this down a little bit. Yeah. What are like 3 things to you that are core to your definition of success? Or like, what's your definition of success?
My definition of success is impact, number 1. Number 2 is learning. And number 3 is joy. I'm struggling to pin the word down. Yeah. That's why for number 3 is a little bit more difficult. Right. Because it you know, I mean, it goes back to the first 2, right? Right. But impact is a reflection of how many people are we influencing, right? How many people are changing, or and maybe not even how many people,
Yeah.
but how deeply can we change one individual.
Mhm.
I think that is, if you can save one life, that may be worth it. That may be more important than influencing 1 million people, a little bit.
Right.
I think
right.
that's saving a life is just one of the most remarkable things that's possible, right? Having somebody, talking to them, empathizing with them, letting them know the value of their life, especially for entrepreneurs or wherever difficult situation that person might be in, that's priceless,
Okay.
right? And anytime you can get somebody reframe their mind, anyway.
Right.
So impact, either depth or breadth, both are fine. And then I already forgot the second one. Doesn't matter.
So successful, you don't need to.
So successful. But the third one is joy or pleasure or happiness or whatever you want to call that, and that is a reflection of, am I doing those 3 things that I enjoy, like
Right.
Create, communicate, and understand. Those are the 3. If I'm spending time on that and challenging myself through that, then I'm quite happy.
So
those are my 3.
Success for you is really how you feel about
so much.
what you've gone through.
So much, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's
Okay.
very much an internal metric for me now.
Okay.
I've stood on stages. I've done all those things and it's so fleeting and it's so irrelevant.
Yeah. Okay.
How about you?
I like to stand on stage.
Like, no kidding.
Do the fleeting and irrelevant. I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm not really good with the internal stuff. I know what
For real?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Even after all this?
No, I mean, I think I'm getting better. So I would say, like, externally.
Yeah.
Actually, I started with the external, which was I went to my grandfather's funeral, and everyone said he was a good guy. Right. Like, I just kept saying, I was like, wow, that meant something to me. So I kind of came up with it, like, I want people, like, when I die on my headstone, like, this is what Rich is known for, right? Like, and that was for me, is like, I want people to know that, like, all right, I was a good guy, and that would be a good husband and father, that'd be a good businessman and a philanthropist, and then I also had one of a scholar, because I just want people to think I was smart. I don't give a shit about what, it could be like whatever, but just like, he was a smart guy, like, I mean, he was a nice guy.
That explains so much about what you've been doing over the past 5-10 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been building charities and sustainability, and I've spent a lot of time with the family.
It's
and
amazing that you're mapping your work towards
those big things, right? And then at the organization level, I'd say I definitely have some really clear ideas about success. Although collective is the most difficult one. For the charity, actually, it's really, like, success is putting as the most, there's a few things. One is, from a numbers perspective, success is about engaging at the highest number of individuals in the city of Shanghai and others in volunteering. But to do that, you have to succeed at creating kind of like a culture of volunteering in the city.
Right.
And then proving value for that. So you kind of you have to prove value, you have to create a culture, and you have to engage people.
That's a lot. Yeah, what I really like about what you just said is that you've broken it down, and then from that analysis, you have the actions that you need to do, and then the metrics behind those actions, right?
And why, actually, as you were speaking a few minutes ago, I was thinking, like, why is it so important that we are clear? Yeah. It's because if we're not clear, our teams have no idea what to do. Right. And we don't, and this gets into the other thing, is like, we don't celebrate success. But we have to find ways to help our team celebrate success.
Yeah, they need it.
Right?
They need it.
They need to see, like, this hackathon, this workshop, this product. Right. It's complete.
Mm-hmm. We don't need those pat on the backs, but they do very much so.
We need the money to pay them, and we
that's it.
And that's what we need to keep it going. But we don't. I think this is also when I think about, like, success and celebrating success in the right way. Yeah. So I think success is something it's both. It's, as a founder, it's really important we have those long-term goals. Mm-hmm. But actually, when I was thinking through, like, the short-term ones, when we talk about definition, metric, and action, those metrics and action back to our teams is very important, and definition for their year-to-year in their contracts, really important as well. So,
very cool.
God, this could, success is it's a moving target, but I think there's a few things that we can take away. One is you have to be very internally oriented and understand kind of what it is that you want, and I think really find confidence in that. I think it's very easy to be distracted by your friends on social media, or a competitor that's doing something better than you, or the wanty things,
or the trend,
or the trend. Hype. Like, you have to map that definition of success back to your actions. Now, metrics along the way, having clear definitions, clear metrics, and then kind of intentional actions around that, I think make sure that you were able to achieve that. Brian likes to not be able to see what's over the horizon And that's great. And I think a lot of older entrepreneurs are probably a little bit more comfortable with that because we didn't grow up with GPS.
Right.
We didn't grow up with everything, right in front of us. A lot of the younger ones I've met with, they're really looking for more short-term things, but that actually might just be a function of age and kind of like, experience or
the times.
Maybe we got it wrong. Maybe we actually should be going a little bit more tactically. But either way, you got to sit down, figure out what's good for you. Brian likes to take a week or two. Maybe you need an hour. Maybe it's, that's what that's what a summer's for.
Yeah.
Take that time, get it done right. And I think also go back and reflect on it, like once a year, once a quarter with a mentor, whatever it may be.
Absolutely.
Making sure that thing it's defining and redefining as you are hopefully succeeding. And remember, even if you're failing, you're still learning. Just get back on that path and
enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
That's right.
So
it's a long one.
Thank you very much for another engaging BTG Behind the Grind with Rich Brubaker and
Brian Tam. Good to see you.
Have a good week.